I saw Lisa at the train station. We watched a movie last night. Hey, look at this photo. Look, I understand what you're saying. See, watch, and look are all connected to using our eyes, so it's easy to mix them up. But there are some important differences. Sometimes something simply comes into view. Sometimes we choose to pay attention to something for a period of time. And sometimes we use look without talking about our eyes at all. Have you ever been confused by see, watch, and look? If so, you're in luck, because today we're going to check out the different ways you can use see, watch, and look naturally in everyday English.
Welcome to another Happy English podcast coming to you from New York City. And here's your English teacher, Michael.
All right, thank you, John, and thanks, everyone. It's Michael here from Happy English, and I help people speak English better. And this is Happy English Podcast, episode 1083. See, watch, or look. How to use them in real life. And by the way, if you're enjoying learning English with me, make sure to follow or subscribe so you don't miss new episodes. Let's start with see. We use see when something comes into our view and we become aware of it. Usually, we aren't making a special effort when we see. For example, imagine you're walking through the station and suddenly notice your friend David near the ticket gate. Later, you say, I saw David at the station this morning. You aren't carefully studying him or everyone in the station. David simply came into view and you noticed him. Here's another example. You're sitting in a coffee shop when a beautiful sports car drives past. You turn to your friend and say, Did you see that car? Or maybe you open the curtains in the morning and say, I can see the mountains from my bedroom. In both situations, see is about something becoming visible or becoming noticeable. When something comes into view, you can see it. Now, let's talk about watch. We use watch when we pay attention to or focus on something that is moving, changing, or continuing for a period of time. For example, we watched a movie last night. I watched the baseball game from beginning to end. Or Jenny watches cooking videos on YouTube. In each case, you intentionally give your attention to something over time. And watch isn't only for screens. Imagine you're sitting outside while your dog is playing in the yard. You might say, I sat on the porch and watched Max run around. Or maybe you're at the airport and stand by the window watching the planes take off and land. The activity continues and you follow what is happening. Next, let's compare see and watch. Imagine you walk into a restaurant and notice a soccer game playing on the television above the bar. You can say, I saw they were showing the soccer game on TV when I walked in. That means you noticed it. But if you sit down and follow the game while you're eating lunch, you can say, I watched the game for about 30 minutes. First you saw it, then you decided to watch it. We also use see when we talk about attending a public performance or event. We say, I went to see a movie. I saw Paul McCartney in concert. Or, we're going to see a baseball game this weekend. Of course, you watch what happens once you're there, but see is the usual verb when we focus on attending or experiencing the event. And that's an important distinction. If I say, I watched the game last night, it was probably on TV. But if I say, I'm going to see a baseball game on Saturday, it's probably at the station. Now, Let's move on to look. We use look when we intentionally direct our eyes toward someone or something. For example, your friend shows you a photo and says, "Look at this." Or maybe you're shopping for a jacket and your friend says, "Hey, look at that one in the window." You choose to direct your attention toward that particular thing. And remember, we usually say look at. You look at a photo, look at the menu, or look at a person. We normally don't say look this photo. We say look at this photo. And you may be wondering about the difference between look at and watch. That's easy. You watch something that's moving or changing, like you watch YouTube videos or watch the kids playing in the park. On the other hand, you look at something that doesn't move, like you look at old photos or look at art in a museum. Here's one situation using all three words. Imagine you're walking through an art museum. When you enter a room, you see a large painting on the opposite wall. It comes into your view. Then you walk closer and look at the details, the colors, the people, and the background. Then you notice that the museum is showing a short video about the artist. So you stand there and watch the video. You see the painting, look at its details, and watch the video. By the way, the word look also has a very common conversational use that has nothing to do with our eyes. We often say look at the beginning of a sentence when we want someone to pay attention to what we're about to say. For example, look, I understand why you're upset, but let me explain what happened. Here, look means something like, please listen carefully to what I'm going to say. Maybe your coworker wants you to complete a huge project by the end of the day. You could say, look, I'll do my best, but I don't think I can finish all of it today. Or imagine that a friend keeps apologizing for a small mistake. You could say, look, it's okay. You don't need to keep apologizing. In these situations, look introduces a direct or honest message. We can also use look when we want to tell someone something sincere or from the heart. Maybe a friend is disappointed because they didn't get a job. You could say, look, I know this is difficult, but you did your best. Or perhaps someone helped you through a hard time, and you say, look, I just want to let you know how much I appreciate everything you did for me. Tone matters here. A calm, look, I understand, can sound caring and supportive. A stronger, look, I already told you, can sound impatient or annoyed. Just like with, come on, go ahead, and listen. The speaker's tone and the situation help us understand the feeling. So here's the key idea. We use see when something comes into our view without our effort. We also use see when we talk about attending a public performance. We use watch when we pay attention to something moving or changing over a period of time. And we use look when we pay attention to something that's not moving. We also use look at the beginning of a sentence when we want someone to pay attention to an explanation, an honest opinion, or something important we're about to say. So, here's your challenge. Think about your day. What did you see without expecting it? What did you watch for a period of time? And what did you deliberately look at? Maybe you saw a neighbor at the supermarket, watched a video after dinner, and looked at tomorrow's weather forecast. Then try using the conversational form of look. Maybe you need to explain something important, and you can begin with, look, here's the situation. Make a few sentences with see, watch, and look that are true for you and true in your life. And keep in mind That's the best way to remember English, right? Take that word or phrase, write it in a sentence that's true for you or true in your world, and then memorize your sentences. Hey, thanks for listening. And remember, learning another language is not easy, but it's not impossible. And I'm here to help you on your journey.
This podcast was brought to you by Happy English. Please visit myhappyenglish.com. Show your support for Happy English by leaving us a review. Get English, get happy, Happy English.